Okay, Commissioners, the third item is an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Brooklyn at 367 7th Avenue in Park Slope Historic District Extension, docket number 165156, block 1094, lot 1. It's an altered neo-Greek-style row house designed by Robert Dixon and built circa 1884. The application is to install storefront infill, signage, awnings, rooftop mechanical equipment, and ductwork.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tara Harrison, Preservation Staff. This is 367 7th Avenue, located on the corner of 11th Street in Park Slope. The application is to install storefront infill directly behind the existing garage doors, to install pin-mounted letters with backlighting above the doors, to install awnings and lighting at the facade, to install mechanical units at the main and addition roof, to install ductwork at the rear facade, and then the proposal for storefront infill at the 7th Avenue facade and the bracket sign meets our staff level rules, so we'll review that internally. The architect, Walter Marin, is here to present.
Good morning, how are you? My name is Walter Marin, Marin Architects. We're excited about this little project, and we refined it a little because it's, even though it has some significant landmarks to it, we are using it as a format to actually design the restaurant around. We actually have a couple of awards for the restaurant, which we'll give it to you. Let me start in the front part of the building. Basically, the only thing we're doing is touching the ground floor portion of the building. And what we're actually going to do is repair. I'm going to use that, it's probably the better word than restore. Repair, basically, we want to keep as much of that original look, including some of that lettering that appears on the top. There is, from the inside, it actually appears as one piece of glass that's been kind of painted in a cool way. So we're trying to kind of keep all of that and put a little bit of signage on the top, but more of an architectural element than it is advertising. The restaurant itself would only have a name on the door. There's no other signage on the facade of the building. And as we turn the corner, we're replacing the 2 windows, adding the awnings, and adding the 3 light fixtures. The cool part about this project is this garage. The garage was originally, for the last number of years, has actually was a wood shop, a person. And the interesting is the doors are really in reasonably good shape. There's something about the doors that have this nice vintage to it, and the only thing we'll be doing to that, again, is just repairing sections of the mullions around these little crosses with the intention of keeping the original wood, which has this really old, heavy painted, so we're basically just going to repaint it, but restore it so that the door doesn't collapse, and then replacing the glass in the same fashion. And basically, the glass gets replaced and the mullions around that hold the glass are the only thing that's going to get replaced. So from the facade, that's pretty straightforward. Obviously, the biggest issue that we have, we went through a little bit of pain to try to figure out, is this ductwork that has to come out, that needs to go up to the roof, that actually is the main ductwork exhaust for the kitchen, for the main kitchen. So if we kind of went through the effort of kind of showing it to you, and we went through a little bit of design elements to try to make it sort of disappear. But obviously, we're pointing it out. So when you see it, the intent is to take the ductwork and paint it to match the rear portion of the building. The other thing we did is we added this planter to hide that mechanical unit that actually serves that small portion of the restaurant. Now, the way the restaurant operates, there are actually 2 parts to it. There's a residential entrance between. So they both sort of operate independently, although they're connected down to the basement level. And that's pretty much it. You can see what the facade is. We're actually going to remove that roll-down gate. There's some kind of plywood stuff, and again, it's to try to put that back as much as its original state in mind. And the only other thing that we have, which kind of gives you, this was done by we hired a restaurant designer who actually kind of took a little bit of that spirit, even though some of this is not accurate to the way she put in 3 awnings, the light a little bit different. But you can see the intent of what we wanted to do to basically make the restaurant the restaurant feels like that facade. So we went through a little bit of agony in the inside. We've gone through quite a bit of detail to make the inside of the restaurant sort of fit the facade, so that when we're done, hopefully everyone will think it's been there forever. But you can see that, and you can also see the, we call it the pizzeria side. It's basically, it has a pizza oven, so it's a very simple facade, and you can see the way the set of doors look like when you open them up. So the doors basically get slide open, then you get to see the entrance to the actual restaurant. And again, it's two parts, the restaurant. And so that's pretty much it.
Do the, excuse me, do the garage doors fold?
No, they
What?
actually slide.
Oh, they slide,
Yeah, they
okay.
slide.
And then, so behind the wooden garage doors, you have
We have a new storefront.
only in one area, only in the center?
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's really, it's been set up so that when the door opens exactly, that's where the storefront sits.
Okay, and then otherwise it's closed?
Correct. So obviously at night, we close it up.
Yes, Diana?
How are the awnings affixed to the brickwork? Would you just,
We just bolt them onto the facade. There's no, they're not that heavy, they're not, it's basically a couple bolts into the facade should be sufficient.
All right, other questions? Okay, no more questions right now. Are there speakers on this item? We have Barbara Zay. Is Barbara Zay here? Yes, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. HDC appreciates the effort taken to respect this row house and garage and applauds this storefront design, especially the repair and replication of the wood doors. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions for the applicant? Close the hearing otherwise? Yes? Okay, close the hearing. All right, comments? Yes, Michael?
This space has been abandoned for at least 12 years. I'm very happy to see that something is happening here. I think it's ironic that there was a woodworker in the garage, and the garage doors have actually been left to sort of fend for themselves. But I noticed in the application it said One Meatball LLC. Will we be serving meatball, or is this something that... Never mind.
You stole my thunder.
Well done. Thank you.
All right, other comments? Any other comments? Yes,
I
Michael?
would just say, since that storefront new piece is going to be very visible, you might, maybe with staff, look at either having the doors go full height or somehow relate to what's right in front of it. I mean, because it's really literally right behind it. And it looks like the transom bar kind of comes in a way that will look, it looked to me like it was kind of, maybe it does line up with that middle mullion, but it looked like it was kind of below it. I don't know.
We're talking about the storefront
piece
at the
of
corner?
storefront there, it looked like the mullion was,
You're making a reference
is
to...
it lining up with that middle mullion?
Well, it's intended to line up with it.
Okay.
It is thicker, because obviously it's a storefront versus
Right.
the thin wood.
As long as it has a relationship, that's all.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I would agree with the commissioners. I think that's a very nice, sensitive approach, and we've seen other situations where the ground floor has been used for restaurants, that they've had to deal with the issue of mechanicals and the flue, and I think in this particular case, they really made a lot of effort to push it as further back as possible and also camouflage it with the color, which would allow it to blend into the rear facade. Michael, do you want to read the resolution?
Regarding 367 7th Avenue, the Park Slope Extension Historic District, the application is to install storefront infill signage, awnings, rooftop mechanical equipment, and ductwork. I recommend approval, finding that the installation of the new rooftop HVAC units and rear facade flues will not result in the loss of or damage to any significant historic fabric. The proposed rooftop installations at the upper roof will be visible over the side facade at a distance along 7th Avenue to the south and over the rear facade along 11th Street, that the installations at the lower roof will be screened by planters and visible only along 11th Street, not in context with the front facade of the main building. The proposed rear facade flues will be painted to match the surrounding masonry, and the rooftop installations will be finished in a neutral gray to help them recede from view. That wall-mounted flues and ducts will be located adjacent to an existing chimney to not further disrupt the composition of the facade and will not extend higher than as required by building code.
That the proposed storefront infill at the rear garage is simply designed and will not call undue attention to itself, away from historic garage doors. That the proposed storefront infill will be visible only when the garage doors are open. That the proposed lighting is simple and unobtrusive, and the number of proposed fixtures is not excessive. The proposed awnings will identify the business at the lower level of this row house building and are small in scale and will not overwhelm the facade and otherwise recall the character of awnings historically found in this district. That the proposed halo lit lettering at the side storefront is small in scale and will not call undue attention to itself, and that the work will not diminish the special architectural or historic character of the Park Slope Extension Historic District.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Application's been approved.